Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. Better late than never, they say. This album actually came out on February the 16th, 1976, so I'm a week late. Belated birthday wishes to this, 45 years old. Give Us a Wink by The Sweet. So this is the fourth studio album by The Sweet, their fifth sort of record if you count the Strung Up compilation, which was released in America. One album live, one studio compilation. But it's an important album in their catalogue because it's the first album they wrote and produced all the songs themselves. Unfortunately, it didn't have the commercial success in Britain that it should have. It didn't chart. Its song Action got to number 15, which is a good chart placing, but it wasn't the usual top 10 placing that the Sweet were used to, and the track Lies in Your Eyes stalled at number 35. But these are the two of their greatest tracks. I'm just singling those out because those two tracks actually recorded at different studios. The Lies in Your Eyes was recorded at Air Studios in London, so we'll be familiar with that. And the Action was recorded at Audio International Studios in London. And they're both under 4 minutes. They're the shortest tracks on the album, proper 7-inch length. The rest of the album was recorded at Musicland Studios in Munich, sometime in 1975, I'm guessing late 75. So this is a famous studio. I've talked about it before. I think Zeppelin recorded that, Queen have. Reinhold Mack's the engineer. I think he engineers this album as well, or Mack for short as he's known. So what's this album like? I think this is a great record. I was thinking about 1976, recently I've covered Virgin Killer, Boston, about to do that. I haven't covered these yet, but they will be coming. Virgin Killer, Boston, Sad Wings of Destiny's coming next month by Judas Priest. And there's probably some other ones that spring to mind, but I think this album, No Heavy Petting UFO, that's another one that's due in the coming months. But I think this album just totally holds up against any of those records. It's a great hard rock, proto-heavy metal album. So it opens with Lies in Your Eyes. I think this is a great track. It's got fantastic backing vocals, great time delays on the lies. The layering on the backing vocals, I did a Sweet sort of overview of all their albums on my other channel, Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid. And a viewer pointed out that I actually got it wrong. I always thought Steve Priest was the high falsetto in the band, but it's Andy Scott. And this shows off the blend of the singers in the Sweet and how they differ from the two other rock bands who used multi-stack harmonies, which are Uriah Heep, I think the innovators of this, and then Queen, who are probably the most well-known. But the blend of voices, Steve Priest's register tone is kind of similar to Andy Scott's, but Andy Scott does the falsetto. Brian Connolly's is more ballsy, but again they're kind of in a similar frequency, and Mick Tucker's kind of as well, so the harmonies have a kind of higher frequency, a kind of shriller tone, but it sounds great. Obviously they're doing the multi-tracking thing, they're probably recording the parts several times, pitch perfect, and on this track in the middle section Andy Scott reaches a really stratospherically high harmony, which is wonderful. The original 7-inch of this actually faded out, but this goes right to them and it fades out of a decaying reverb on the harmony vocals. And the main riff in the middle is a bit of a rip-off of Satisfaction, kind of touching base with the kind of 60s influence and 50s influence that came out in their Chin and Chapman compositions. It's a great track. It just ticks all the boxes. It's got great guitar fills. The production's great. I think big props to Mick Tucker. It's on this track I was listening before. You notice how big the drum sound is on this album. I mean, for the time, it's a huge drum sound. It's easily Bonham, comparable to Bonham's kind of sound, what Andy Parker achieved on the Obsession album for UFO. The snare's got loads of balls and the tom sound is huge. There's a bit on this track where it comes out of it does the high harmony middle section, and Mick Tucker does some tom fills. And the power on them is just immense. And Mick Tucker's a great rock drummer, and you can hear the influence on drummers like Tommy Lee and the other glam metal scene. Really good. So, great opening track. The running order of this album actually flipped for the Capitol release in America, so it came out on RCA over here in America. So side 1 was side 2, and so forth from the American release. But the second track, Cockroach, I mean, this is probably a track people don't know about the Sweet. Maybe it made a B-side. This is heavy as fuck, basically. It's really heavy. Heaviest track on the album. Again, Tucker's drums are just absolutely pounding. Steve Priest bass, locking in. Andy Scott, interesting, because he uses the 3-3-5, but he gets loads of drive on his guitar. And Brian Connolly delivers a raucous rock vocal. Really good. Love the groove on this. 4 minutes 51, so it's a longer track. Yeah, easily one of the best tracks on the album. So track 3's Keep It In. This starts with like a reverse reverb showing off the sort of production techniques. And it's got some quite groovy synth in there. You'll know that on Fox on the Run. And also on Lies in the Eyes, they do use a bit of synth. So it uses the same kind of melody type thing. This is 5 minutes long. Again, it's got a great groove, really frantic, brilliant drumming from Tucker. He's really driving this record. And just good performances by the whole band. So an interesting track, not as strong as the first two, but I do really like it. And then side 1 finished with 4th of July, it's 4 minutes 24. Don't like this track as much. I think it was released as a single in Australia. I'm just checking that. Other tracks were released elsewhere. Don't quote me on that. I'm just probably getting confused. Apologies. But it's a good track. It's a kind of 6 out of 10 track for me. Again, it exploits, it's got the great vocal harmonies, and layering the guitars, Andy Scott, he's kind of building parts into the tracks. So it's very well thought out, the production on the album. The band have obviously spent a lot of time getting sounds, getting performances, and enjoying themselves, expressing themselves. So side 2, Open With Action. This song's been covered by Black and Blue. I think Raven did it apparently. Def Leppard's version's probably the most well-known version outside of the Sweets version, and Steve Stevens' Atomic Playboys did this as well. But none of these versions come close. It's one of these tracks, it's pointless covering this track. The production, the performance by the band is already perfect. There's nothing you can do with it. It's not like when a band like Judas Priest is Green Man, Alicia, or Better By You, Better Than Me, and they can take songs that aren't that heavy but are rocky and make something of them that's their own. You just can't do that with Action. The production job on this is stunning. Like, it's a proper achievement in production at that point on a rock song. Guitars are great. Andy Scott's got that great octave part underlining, and it's kind of creating this orchestration in the music. Chorus, amazing vocal harmonies. Love the till shutting noise in the middle section. And Andy Scott does a really cool solo, and some really good harmony lead track parts on this as well, where he puts in harmony lead fills. I suppose keeping with the time, obviously Queen, Brian May did multi-track guitars, but Andy Scott was doing about the same time as well, sort of 73, 74 when Brian May's first appears in the scene. Andy Scott's doing that as well, so they kind of run in tandem. It's a brilliant track. There's not really much more you can say about this. It's 3 minutes 44. Again, it was a single. It's a really tight length. Track number 2, or track 6, but it was track 2 on side 2 of the original vinyl, is Yesterday's Rain. I believe this was a B-side of a single, but again, I could be wrong. I first heard this on like a mixtape a mate did for me. This is a great track. Might be the best produced track on the album, aside from Action, Lies in Their Eyes. It's got a really cool chopped sort of guitar riff. Drums are pounding. Brian's sort of vocals more subdued, kind of moody, and it's got this massive chorus, massive multi-track harmonies, all the band singing. Andy Scott does really cool harmonised fills in the gaps between the vocals on a verse, and he actually does like a cool like diminished 7 run. Guitarists will know what I mean by that, just moving in parallel minor thirds. But quite interesting in that, because I was listening, thinking about Virgin Killer the other day, which is an album coming out later in the year, which will celebrate its anniversary. Newly John Roth does the same thing, harmonised diminished thirds. So again, Andy Scott, touching base with what's going on in guitar land at that time, really good. And it's got a cool ending, this. It kind of breaks down with stabs, and then it's got like a voice box on it, and then really high harmonies as well, so really good. Just forgot to mention about Action, of course. It slows down at the end. It's like they slow the tape speed down, and the action keeps delaying, and then it goes down to a grinding halt again, just using the production techniques of the time. Remember all these techniques, time delays, stuff like that. They all have to be done, at the desk. If you're doing something like slowing the tape down, there's not a button you can hit that does it. You have to do it. It's not uncommon for bands back then to all be on the desk, or some members, if there's complicated moves within the mix. And remember, this is probably recorded on 24 tracks, which is nice back then, but it's not 48 or 72. You know, we have limited tracks now. So a lot of these vocal harmonies, if they've done a lot of them, will have been what's called bounced down. So they would have recorded, say, 4-part harmony, then bounce that down onto one track, and you repeat that process and it builds. It was a very lengthy process. Not sure how long they spent recording this, but next track's White Mice. I don't know what White Mice means, maybe I don't want to know. This is an up-tempo track, it's cool. Again, really cool kind of a chorus like the White Mice, high harmonies, a little bit kind of phaser on it. Cool solo. Yeah, it's another great album track. I think the album tails off of the last track, Healer. It's kind of a slow sort of bluesy number. It's really powerful, the ending, and again it brings out the quality in Mick Tucker's drum sound on this. It's just a straight 4 on the floor. You can hear the bass kick drum and the snare, and like they've accomplished a really good sound. It's 7 minutes 17, so it's a little bit ploddy. This album's definitely an 8.5 out of 10. You know, it's just close to a classic album the Sweet made for me. I know people disagree with that, and they would have mentioned Sweet Fanny Adams or Desolation Boulevard, but I think this kind of, because they've set out to write it themselves, it feels more like an album, like a whole. But it's really good. Like I say, it was successful in Sweden, Germany, and the band continued to be successful in those markets, but unfortunately, Action was their last hit prior to Love Is Like Oxygen. That was kind of an anomaly when that track was a hit, really. You know, it was kind of a hit in '78, but the sort of time had passed then. But they did get a bit back with that. But it never really translated into album sales. They're never an album band in the UK Sweet. It was always singles. So yeah, 45 years and 1 week old today. Brilliant record. Sweet, give us a wink. So I'll see you again soon. Cheers, thanks.